Okay, so on your pre-lab exercise, you've got a calculation here that you need to perform. You've got what it says here is it wants you to make a stock solution, and we all know what a stock solution from class is, that's 20 mils in volume and has a concentration of 1 mole per liter. And it wants you to calculate how much mass of the copper 2 sulfate you need in order to make that solution with that concentration and with that volume. And so you've done questions like this in your dilution practice booklet, and essentially all you need to do is you need to convert your milliliters into liters, cancel out your liter unit in the concentration so you're left with moles, because everything in chemistry goes through moles, right? And then once you have your moles, you use the molar mass of copper 2 sulfate to calculate your grams, okay? I'm not gonna do that right now, I'm just gonna demo for you guys what this looks like. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this beaker and just stick it on your scale. Use a small one because then, you know, it doesn't max out the grams on the beaker here. Hit the 0 button, so now it just is at 0, and you just add in whatever the calculated amount is. Okay, when you calculate that amount, make sure that you check that calculated number with me so that you can, you know, basically be told, yeah, that's the right number, and you can start the dilution. Okay, so this is what the dilution looks like. Once you've got that calculated number, measure out what the mass is. This measures things out to the nearest 1/100th of a gram, so it's pretty accurate. And when you come over to the sink, just pour in a little bit of volume so that you can dissolve this. Now, on here with beakers are never a good idea to measure exact volumes. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to measure this up to the 20 line on the beaker, because these numbers are not specific, they're just general numbers. So I come up to here about the 10 line, just enough water so that I can dissolve the crystals here, and I use a little stir stick to just stir this around and really make sure that the crystals get dissolved up nice and good, okay? And then what I want to do is I want to, once the crystals are dissolved, I want to pour the solution that I have in here into this graduated cylinder, and this is very accurate at measuring numbers, okay? And so I'll pour this in, it'll be somewhere below the 20 line, and then ever so carefully, I'm going to pour water in here to bring this up to the 20 milliliter line. And that will be my stock solution. It'll be my 20 mils with the concentration at 1 mole per liter, because I would have put in the correct number of grams of copper 2 sulfate for that, okay? The biggest trick here is make sure, for sure, that your crystals are all dissolved in the solution, okay? Because if you go to transfer and then some crystals are left behind, now it's not gonna be the right concentration, okay? So really make sure that this is stirred up nice and good and that all the crystals have been dissolved. I'm probably not doing this as well as I should. You should have a couple pieces of paper towel here just to kind of set things that are wet on them so you're not making a mess on the table. Okay, so you go ahead and pour this in. And there's my solution. Now I can take this same beaker and I'm just gonna fill this up with some water. And then what you wanna do is at eye level, you wanna not read these numbers looking down. Whenever you're reading numbers in chemistry, you gotta look at it straight on, okay? So you get down low to where the 20 line is, and then just ever so slightly pour this in. Now this is the best way to have control with this. If you do it in the sink, as oftentimes it happens, we turn it on and then you get way more in there and then it splashes everywhere and stuff like that. So just use a beaker with a little bit of water, pour it in so that you bring it up to 20 line. And that looks pretty good right there. So I'm gonna call that good. And here's my stock solution. So I can pour this out. I don't need the rest of that water. And you can pour your stock solution back into here, okay? Now that is not the dilution. That is the preparation of the stock solution, right? So I've done what is in the pre-lab here, as well as lab number 1, step number 1, which is prepare the stock solution with that volume, 20 mils, and the concentration of 1 mole per liter. So that part's done. Now step 2 here is the actual dilution. It wants you to dilute the stock solution to a concentration of 0.1 moles per liter with a volume of 150 milliliters. So when you do this, you want to make sure that you're using that C1V1 equals C2V2 formula, okay? And because this is your C2, the 0.1 moles per liter, and the 150 milliliters is your V2, you need to know how much of this you are going to pipette out in order to get that concentration with that volume. Does that make sense? So you do your calculation with that, and again, you can check that with me before you carry on. Once you get that number correctly, and you know how much of the stock solution you're going to pipette out, I'm going to use this bigger beaker right here to put what I'm pipetting out. And this is the pipette right here. This is a very, very, very specific way, very detailed way of measuring 10 milliliters exactly, or anything that's less than that, okay? So I'll just pipette 10 mils out. If your number that you calculate, which it will be, is larger than 10, then just pipette 10, and then pipette another amount, whatever that is, added together, right? So if you're gonna pipette 12 milliliters, then pipette 10, and then pipette 2 more. And so with this, you can see on the number scale here, to go 2 more millimeters, you would go 9 is 1, and 8 is 2, right? The numbers just go backwards. So I'm gonna pipette the 10 mils out of here. I'm just gonna do 10 just for the sake of speed. And you pull this up right to the 0 line. That's 10 mils. And you just push that in like that, and it comes out. Okay, make sense? Now, I've got what the volume is that I calculated from my formula. Now the rest is water, right? The rest is water. So what I gotta do is, again, I gotta do this thing. I know that there's 10 mils in here, and I need the solution to be, the diluted solution to be what volume? 150 milliliters, right? So for the 150 milliliters, I need to add in 140 milliliters of water. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm gonna go over here to the sink. I can pour in 100 mils. That little white thing is in the way. So let's say that's 100 mils, and I'm not being super exact, you guys will be. That's 100, and then I'll go 40 more. And that's 40 more, and my dilution is done. Okay, that solution is now 150 milliliters in volume. It has the concentration of 0.1 moles per liter because I did the calculation correctly, and you're finished. Once you're done with this, then both of these solutions, the stock solution and the diluted solution, can just go in that milk jug over there, and we use it for other labs and other classes and stuff moving forward. So that's it. Are there any questions? No? Okay.